Stephen, your patriot come lately, the voice of the Second American Revolution. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whenever or wherever you are listening. As someone who came to America to escape from the socialist nightmare, I am using this show to shake America awake. Join me in the next hour for constitutional conservative news and views, as well as the occasional guest. We have to rebuild that shining city on the hill by taking this great country back to the principles set forth by the founders.
And here we go, another episode of Patriot Come Lately Talk Radio. This is Stefan, your Patriot Come Lately. British by birth, American by choice, welcoming you to episode 303. So, wherever, whenever you're listening to the show, welcome. And let's get started. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. Things are heating up, as I said last week, but they're getting even hotter now around the Caucasus, which are less than a week away, and plenty of other things going on as well. If you're listening live, please click on the speech button in your Spreaker little box there. Join us in the chat room. I'd like to welcome Paul. Paul's already arrived. Looking dapper as ever. I'm sure he's not dressed like that tonight, but his picture looks very dapper. And, come participate in the chat room. Lots of fun there, lots of interesting discussions. And if you're not listening live, if you're listening to one of the recordings, then try and join us live one night. Lots of fun, as I said. And if you would like to send comments and feedback and you can't listen live, you're listening to the recording, then just send me an email at stefan@patriotcomelately.us or go to www.patriotcomelately.us and send me your comments, feedbacks. Love to hear from my listeners. So, folks, this show is coming to you from the Patriot Come Lately home studio, so hopefully the quality will be fairly good when I'm on the road. I sometimes have technical issues with hotel networks and things like that, but hopefully here, no problems tonight. And, well, let's get started right off. And I think the big news of today was the fact that Trump has announced that he will not participate in Thursday's debate. He was not too happy with the fact that Megyn Kelly was going to be there. She did rather rake him over the coals last time. And I think he said, okay, if I'm going to draw a huge audience and bring a lot of people, and therefore Fox can get a lot of money off commercials, I don't think that Megyn Kelly would be the right moderator, given what she did last time. His prerogative. Fox wasn't ready to swap her out, so he said, "Okay, then I'm not coming." Now, whether or not they will find some kind of compromise, who knows? But, Trump's not really the compromising type. I think a lot of people would be disappointed if he did. There's going to be a lot of people say, throwing a hissy fit, childish, etc. I've already seen a lot of that. But, on the other hand, give him his due. She was pretty negative, personal against him. And that's, not what I would expect from Fox. They're supposed to be fair and balanced. So I think given the big draw that he's proven to be, he has a right to at least ask. And if they don't want to answer him positively, then he can take that action. Will it harm him in the upcoming caucuses and in the New Hampshire vote? Well, New Hampshire is so far ahead that if he drops 3 or 4 or 5 points on this, probably wouldn't harm him if it drops him 10 points, but would it really drop him 10 points? On the one hand, I think by being very principled and saying no, she wasn't honest, she wasn't fair and balanced, and therefore I don't think she should be in the lineup this time round. Kind of principled. I think that would be good if he capitulated. That might cost him votes as well. I think I'd be a little disappointed, but we'll have to wait and see. He did say the other day he could walk down Fifth Avenue and shoot someone and it wouldn't affect his ratings. So we'll see whether or not this does, and if he goes through with it. Now, having said that, I have to say that personally, if he's not going to be participating, I don't see any reason to watch it. So I probably will not watch the debate. In the past, I've watched them, but no, if they're going to be missing out a key person like that, then why bother? I can get the highlights later and just see what some of the people said. It'll give some of the also-rans a better chance to get their message out, and all the best to them. But the 5%ers, right? The Jeb Bushes, the Kasich's, and everything. They might be able to up their percentages a couple of points or so, but we'll see. So, and also joining us in the chat room after a long absence is my friend Edward, or better known as Rex. Good evening, Rex. Nice to see you again. And have to say, Rex, like that little video of you expressing your musical talents. For those of you that don't know him, you can go to Facebook, search for Edward Riepe, R-I-E-P-E, and you'll see him there in his musical guise, amongst other things. Of course, he's also that very well-known author. Lots of good books. The FEMA Camp series mentioned a number of times. But nice to see you, Rex. So, Trump out or not, what will that do? Well, it's right. It's now almost 5 days. Well, let's say 6 days, including sort of the Monday, because they'll be voting on Monday evening. So next week's show, we'll be able to talk about what actually happened there. Did Donald Trump manage to beat Ted Cruz in Iowa? Did he come in second? Did he come in third? Did what he's doing now drop him even further behind? We will see. And then shortly after that, of course, there will be the New Hampshire primaries. The interesting thing is that the DNC has decided to add in an extra debate before the New Hampshire primaries. So while Debbie Blabbermouth Schultz has been protecting Hillary by basically scheduling the debates at very inconvenient times, or times that people are unlikely to watch, and keeping the number very low, now all of a sudden they've started adding them in. Is this the beginning of the end? Well, let's talk about that. So just recently, in the last couple of days, King Barry had an interview. And I haven't seen the interview, I have to be honest, but I did glean from some of the comments around the place that he kind of gave a tacit endorsement to Hillyer. Now, in the past, in some recent shows, I've been discussing what is Obama really up to. Does he want Bernie Sanders to win the nomination and have Biden step in to take it away? Does he want Hillary to do it and step in and then have her indicted and then have Biden step in? Does he really tacitly endorse Hillary. I don't know. Again, I still think that the scenario put forward by a couple of pundits online or on TV that the Obamas really want to get rid of Hillary, even though she's probably the best chance of continuing his legacy, although Biden would do that as well. So would they really torpedo her at the last minute and so that Biden can step in and rescue the day? I still think it's a good possibility. So why would he tacitly endorse her? Well, why not openly endorse her? So by tacitly endorsing her, he's kind of encouraging her to stay in the race, which is what I think they want. I think they want her to stay in the race so that she can win the nomination. You know, Bernie Sanders is going to beat her in maybe in Iowa, almost certainly in New Hampshire. And then once it goes to South Carolina, once it goes to the southern states, the Clinton machine has too many of the minorities up their sleeve. So I don't think Bernie Sanders has much of a chance there. It could be quite a bit of momentum from the first primaries for him to get anywhere. But who knows? So if that scenario is correct, then maybe he's just kind of encouraging her to stay in the race because he does want her to win the nomination so that she can have the rug pulled from under her, has to step out, and then Biden can step in on a brokered convention type deal and doesn't have to worry about the primaries. It's possible. Now, but it'll have to happen fairly soon after the primaries, after she wins the nomination, maybe even before the last primary is done, because, of course, then there will be the general election ballots that have to be registered, and they have to go and sign up for and pay their $100 or $200, whatever it is, to be on the ballot. But they can't do that until the primaries are over, at least state by state. You know, it can't be done until at least the primary is over. And I'm sure that most of the states wait until, you can't do it immediately after your primary. That wouldn't make any sense because you don't know who's, especially for the early states, you don't know who's going to be ending up actually on the nomination. So it's going to be later, but there is a cutoff date. And obviously, if they're going to move, then Obama and Biden would need to move quickly once she's garnered enough votes for the nomination. And they'll have to do it carefully so that her votes don't revert back to Sanders, and then Sanders gets the nomination, because that's going to be a disaster for the Democrats as well. Now, we wouldn't mind that, but right, because Sanders would be easy to run against, and I don't think he'd have a snowball's chance in hell of really doing anything in the general election. But elections are strange things. Who knows if Obama were to throw the weight of his organization behind Bernie Sanders, anything is possible. But I don't know. Anyway, now, last week I did miss one thing on my on the notes I put together, and should have done this last week, so I'm a little late. But this is kind of a belated Martin Luther King thing. So let's move on to the next topic. So Martin Luther King, I want to bring up a quote by him, and then kind of mirror that against something that Dear Leader said. So Martin Luther King said, "I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism." In other words, very positive thought there. He doesn't believe that racism is by any means inherent to us. And, of course, King Barry said, "Racism is in our blood, it's in our DNA. It's part of us. So how very different between those two great people. Both of them blacks, both of them representing blacks, both of them with opportunities to do great things for black people. Martin Luther King did, whereas Dear Leader just sold his people down the river, quite frankly. Don't you agree? Anyway. Okay. But I thought that was a very nice quote, and wanted to do that as, like I said, as a belated Martin Luther King Day thing. Now, while we're talking about Dear Leader, and I mentioned that interview earlier on that he supposedly tacitly endorsed Hillyer, but finally King Barry has admitted he does not want to go for a third term. This was also in that, I don't know if it was the same interview, but in a recent interview. And part of it, he said, is because you live in this bubble, and he was just tired of living in that bubble. Well, I'm glad he realized he lives in a bubble surrounded by yes men, but I would have thought for a narcissist like him, that would be exactly what he wants. But anyway, so supposedly he said he doesn't actually want to go for a third term. Now, remember, a couple of months ago, he said, if I went for a third term, he said, I know I could win the election. Yeah, right. Oh, sorry, he's still got his organization that does all those fraud voting and double voting and triple voting and illegal immigrants voting, everything. Yeah, so he might win it that way. But anyway, now, so why would he not want to go for that third term? Well, it's obvious, folks. Why bother with a single country, right, this country, one for which he has so much disdain anyway? I mean, he obviously thinks nothing of the U.S. Why would he bother with us when he could rule the whole world? Yes, rumors abound that the narcissist in chief wants to be the next General Secretary of the UN. And anything that Barry wants, Barry gets, right? Nobody stands up to him. Nobody dares, because otherwise they'll be called racists. Anyway, I see it's time for a commercial break. So let me just say, I actually hope that he gets to be the next General Secretary of the UN. And on top of that, I hope that President Trump kicks the UN out of New York at the same time. So, dear leader, we'll have to travel to Vienna or Paris or wherever they end up moving the UN to lord it over the world in that way. And let's kick the UN out and kick the UN out of America and just ignore them because they're a bunch of left-wing bigots anyway. Okay, folks, I see, as I said, it's time for the first commercial break, and I will be back after these messages.
The offer of a franchise can only be made through delivery of a franchise disclosure document. Imagine yourself being a leader in America's fastest growing demographic category. More than 10,000 people a day turn 65, and a large percentage are going to need a helping hand at home or in choosing the right assisted living community. Always Best Care is looking for people who've excelled at everything they've done, but they're seeking a new challenge. Always Best Care is one of the fastest growing companies in this explosive field. We're looking for 25 new franchisees to keep our booming business growing. We'll back you up with the strongest award-winning marketing program in the industry, and we'll provide the special training and support that's fueled our growth to prepare you for this great opportunity. All that's missing is you. Call Always Best Care toll-free at 1-800-643-7508. That's 1-800-643-7508. For Always Best Care, 1-800-643-7508. Call today.
Are you worried about losing your home to foreclosure? If you've been threatened with foreclosure or received legal papers from your bank, you have approximately 30 days to respond. If you do not respond, you could lose your home. You have rights. Act now to protect your rights. You can stay in your home. Many times you can even modify your loan. The bottom line is you can get past this, but you must act right now. Call National Foreclosure Defense right now at 800-296-3006, 800-296-3006. If you've been served by your bank and you're worried about losing your home to foreclosure, now is the time to fight back and save your home. Time is limited, so call right now. 800-296-3006, 800-296-3006. Call the professionals at National Foreclosure Defense right now. 800-296-3006.
If you're diabetic, this message could change your life. Is your blood sugar out of control even when you do all the right stuff? Are you afraid of diabetic blindness and the risk of amputation, as well as all those other side effects? Well, you should be. Is there anything that could help manage your blood sugar? Nobetes is a natural supplement that may quickly and dramatically lower your blood sugar.
My name is Bob Corder. I've been using Nobetes for about 3.5 to 4 months now. And in the first 3 months, I've actually lowered my blood sugars from 500s down to 139, and then it dropped to 88 to 93.
My name is Kirsten. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and while taking Nobetes, my blood sugar levels dropped from 295 to 115 in just one day.
The FDA hasn't evaluated these statements, and Nobetes isn't intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. But for many, it's helped drop their blood sugar. So if you've been evaluated with high blood sugar, don't delay. Evaluate Nobetes now. Call 800-551-8302 and get your free bottle. Just cover shipping and handling. Call 800-551-8302. That's 800-551-8302.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us. And welcome back. This is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately. You're listening to episode 303 of Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio. And later in the show, I'm going to talk about some gun control issues and also more email problems for Hilllier. But first of all, I've always said a while back, I would like to bring some good news things to the show, and then it always ends up there's all this unbelievable crap flying around that I feel I need to share with my listeners, because all of this bad stuff really should help you make a decision as how you're going to vote in the upcoming elections. Now, I did find some good news, though, that I want to bring to you. So let's have a look at this piece of good news. And so a lady came home to her house and found that her furnace had broken down. Her heating broken down. Now, remember, in winter, this was in Pennsylvania, so it can get pretty cold up there. The lady couldn't get her husband to help her fix it, although she did try over the phone, but he's in the military. Yes, she's a military wife, and he's deployed at the moment. So she had no other thing to do but to call a repairman. So she called up a heating and repair company in Moon Township. She lives in Moon Township, called Betlin Heating and Cooling. And I'm going to use the name here because the guy deserves some recognition. And she was expecting, it was, I guess, in the evening, she was expecting to get an answering machine, but she actually got the owner, Paul Betlin, and he talked her through a couple of things to try and get it restarted. It didn't work, so he said, hang on, I'm coming over. So while he was looking at it, she was sitting there talking with him and explaining why her husband, they tried to do some things over the phone as well, and that hadn't worked because he's deployed. And finally he got it working, and she was a little worried because she was expecting a large bill. He'd been working, for a few hours about it. So Mr. Betlin then handed her a bill on which he wrote, "Deployed discount total $1. And he said, "And don't even bother about the $1. He said, "That's just a joke." And then said, "And thank your husband for his service." Well, that, I think, is good news. Someone who appreciates our military, not like King Barry and his cronies in Washington. And Bedlin said, "I'm not the hero here. The deployed, they're the heroes." He was interviewed, of course, on TV. This went viral, and the serviceman's wife was totally overwhelmed and in shock when he gave her the bill. She said she was speechless and she still doesn't know what to do except to say thank you. Betlin said actually he was just continuing a family tradition. His grandfather apparently had been a milkman during the Great Depression, and many times he'd go to the door and the woman wouldn't have any money for milk, but the baby was crying in the background, so he just put the milk on the table. And when he heard about this lady with her husband being deployed, he said, "I decided I would put milk on the table as well." So anybody in Philadelphia near Moon Township, Betlin's Heating and Cooling, good guy, good place to get your service. Also, for those of you that are so inclined, he has also started a Military Deployment Kisses Fund on GoFundMe. The aim is to raise money to send families overseas to meet with their loved ones during lengthy deployments. And he's raised nearly $1,500 in 3 days, probably because all of this news went viral. But anything I can do to help him. So, as I mentioned before, go to GoFundMe.com. It's one of those funding websites. And look for Military Deployment Kisses Fund, or probably under the name Betlin as well, Betlyn. And let's do something good there. Send them some money. Okay, folks, I see we've got to the next commercial break, and I would like to play that, and after the commercial break, maybe some music again, and then we're going to get into the thick of things, emails, and gun control issues.
Patriot come lately. British by birth. American by choice. Just like the Founding Fathers. The voice of the conservative resistance.
Every day, millions of Americans grow more concerned about the future of our great nation. The truth is, over the last century, a small but powerful collectivist movement known as progressivism has debased our politics, our culture, and our currency. We're just a small step from falling into 1,000 years of darkness, as Ronald Reagan warned. Friend, this is Pat Boone with an important free offer on a hot new book called The Great Withdrawal by Craig Smith and Lowell Ponte. This new book explains how we, the people, can end this fatal detour into big government and get back on the path of faith and freedom charted by our founders. Call now for a free copy of the hot new book called The Great Withdrawal.
Call now for your free copy. 800-978-3901. 800-978-3901. 800-978-3901. That's 800-978-3901.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS that you can't pay? Call now for immediate help. At the Tax Relief Line, we help people just like you. If you take on the IRS alone, you could be facing levies, liens, even wage garnishments, personal or business tax issues. If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS, call now and see if you can pay less. They can freeze your bank accounts, even garnish your wages. Call the Tax Relief Line now for immediate help. Our expert team of tax professionals will negotiate your tax problem and deal with the IRS for you. If the IRS is threatening you with levies, wage garnishments, or seizing your assets, call now and see if you can pay the IRS less.
888-789-5043. 888-789-5043. 888-789-5043. 888-789-5043.
This is Patriot Come Lately Talk Radio, keeping the spirit of America alive, a proud member of the Red State Talk Radio Network. And we're back into the second half of the show. As I promised, going to play some music. But before I do, just a reminder to my listeners, if you're listening live, join us in the chat room. Click on the speech button in your Spreaker window there. For those of you that are not listening live, you can still send your comments and questions like the people in the chat room do. But in that case, use email. Send them to stefan@patriotcomelately.us or go to the website www.patriotcomelately.us and fill out the contact form there. There's a contact button. Fill out the form and your question or comment, feedback, etc. will be sent to me. I love to hear from my listeners. And, of course, anything that I get either via email or via the website, I'll try and answer you personally. Well, not try. I will answer you personally. I'll make that commitment. And on top of that, I'll also answer your question, make reference to it in a future show. But in the meanwhile, like I said, I promised you some music. So let's listen to this. And I think we're getting to a point where I think this song is going to be very appropriate because I think with everything going on in politics and the upcoming elections in November, I think we are going to be able to do just this, and this is Take Our Country Back.
Taking my country back, putting it back on the right track. Corrupt politicians making bad decisions, we all had enough of that. If our founding fathers could talk today, I heard them hear them say, take your country back, my friend. You gotta take your country back. Get out of my way or slip on this train. I'm headed to my Washington house to let those suckers know on election day I'm gonna kick most of them on out. And shout no more high taxes. We want a free market system. We don't like socialism. See, we believe in capitalism. And we love our children, and we love this nation. So let's protect our borders and protect our freedom. I'm taking my country back, putting it back on the right track. Corrupt politicians making bad decisions, we all had enough of that. If our founding fathers could talk today, I can hear them say, take your country back. Oh yeah, son, you gotta take your country back. Take your country back. Oh yeah, you gotta take your country back. Now Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and John Quincy Adams too. If you could go to Washington one more time, what would you say or do? I'd say no more high taxes. We want a free market system. We don't like socialism. See, we believe in capitalism. And we love our children. And we love this nation. That's why we wrote the Constitution, to protect our freedom. So start taking your country back, putting it back on the right track. Now corrupt politicians making bad decisions, we all had enough of that. If our founding fathers could talk today, I could hear them say, take your country back right now. Yeah, you gotta take your country back. I'll take your country back right now. Son, you gotta take your country back. Oh, take it back. Take it back. And put it back on the right track. Oh, take it back. Take it back. And put it back on the right track. And put it back on the right track. Oh, yeah. God help us take our country back and put it back on the right track. Yeah, put it back on the right track. Oh, take it back. Take it back. And put it back on the right track. Oh, yeah, take it back. Oh, take it back. And put it back on the right track. Oh, take it back. Take it back. Take it back. Take it back and put it back on the right track. And put it back on the right track. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, folks, that's Take Your Country Back, and hopefully we will be doing that very shortly. Just a few more months now. We're not counting it in years anymore. We're counting it in months, and shortly it'll become weeks, and then it'll become days. But okay, in the meanwhile, let's talk about Hillary's problems. Now, before we talk about her latest email problems, I do want to talk about something else that I've come across. And again, reason I'm bringing this to your attention is because I think these are all things that you need to share, especially with your liberal friends or enemies, whatever you call them, because we cannot have Hillary in the White House. She is just not, she doesn't deserve it. She is not honest enough for it. So before we get to some very bad things, here are some sort of bad things. And this was some news that after she left the State Department and started going out earning money, pimping herself to earn money for herself and Slick Willie, earning huge amounts. Let's remember. She started doing speeches, and especially speeches in front of some of the nation's most exclusive Wall Street financial investment firms. Right? Combined, the speeches she gave represent about 10.5 trillion of assets under management with these firms. And these are the firms that we're saying are too big to fail. Folks, that's not capitalism. That's crony capitalism. If you fail, you fail, however big or small you are. These off-the-record speeches were delivered in early 2013, so after Clinton had left the Department of State, but before she announced her second bid for the White House in 2015. So it's basically 13 and 14 and maybe early 15. But in that time period, right, all the big names. And one example, Goldman Sachs. Now, last week she was asked whether she would release transcripts of the speeches she delivered in 3 separate speeches to the Goldman Sachs Group, but she laughed it off in her usual way. And you know, with her, if she's laughing about something, it means there is more to it than she would like to answer. She just tries to laugh it away. Have you noticed she does it all the time? You ask her a difficult question, she laughs it away. You ask her something she doesn't want to answer, she laughs it away. That's how much disdain she has for the American people. Bernie Sanders has been commenting on that, and he said because she received an average of $225,000 for each speech, according to federal tax returns, and he says, you've got to be hell ever good in order to earn that kind of money. But anyway, why did she actually close the events to reporters? Well, is that because she was giving promises or commitments to these people, to the special interests? Were the people paying for promises by paying these large amounts? That's what it sounds like. Tom Fitton, he's the president of the non-profit government watch group Judicial Watch, said that given Clinton's history of trading public favors and using her public office to advance the interest of her and her supporters, one can suppose that whatever was going on was inappropriate, and that's why there were no press allowed. So, then, what's next? Well, next are the multiplication of her email problems. But before we do that, I see it's time for yet another commercial break. And then we're going to talk about the latest issues around email problems, which, again, she tries to laugh off. But no, folks, that doesn't work. Because we know that she can't be trusted. Anyway, here we go.
The offer of a franchise can only be made through delivery of a franchise disclosure document. Imagine yourself being a leader in America's fastest growing demographic category. More than 10,000 people a day turn 65, and a large percentage are going to need a helping hand at home or in choosing the right assisted living community. Always Best Care is looking for people who've excelled at everything they've done, but they're seeking a new challenge. Always Best Care is one of the fastest growing companies in this explosive field. We're looking for 25 new franchisees to keep our booming business growing. We'll back you up with the strongest award-winning marketing program in the industry, and we'll provide the special training and support that's fueled our growth to prepare you for this great opportunity. All that's missing is you. Call Always Best Care toll-free at 1-800-643-7508. That's 1-800-643-7508. For Always Best Care, 1-800-643-7508. Call today.
Are you worried about losing your home to foreclosure? If you've been threatened with foreclosure or receive legal papers from your bank, you have approximately 30 days to respond. If you do not respond, you could lose your home. You have rights. Act now to protect your rights. You can stay in your home. Many times you can even modify your loan. The bottom line is you can get past this, but you must act right now. Call National Foreclosure Defense right now at 800-296-3006, 800-296-3006. If you've been served by your bank and you're worried about losing your home to foreclosure, now is the time to fight back and save your home. Time is limited, so call right now. 800-296-3006, 800-296-3006. Call the professionals at National Foreclosure Defense right now. 800-296-3006.
If you're diabetic, this message could change your life. Is your blood sugar out of control even when you do all the right stuff? Are you afraid of diabetic blindness and the risk of amputation, as well as all those other side effects? Well, you should be. Is there anything that could help manage your blood sugar? Nobides is a natural supplement that may quickly and dramatically lower your blood sugar.
My name is Bob Corder. I've been using Nobides for about 3.5 to 4 months now, and in the first 3 months, I've actually lowered my blood sugars from 500s down to 139, and then it dropped to 88 to 93.
My name is Kirsten. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and while taking Nobides, my blood sugar levels dropped from 295 to 115 in just 1 day.
The FDA hasn't evaluated these statements, and Nobides isn't intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. But for many, it's helped drop their blood sugar. So if you you've been evaluated with high blood sugar, don't delay. Evaluate No Beaties now. Call 800-551-8302 and get your free bottle. Just cover shipping and handling. Call 800-551-8302. That's 800-551-8302.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us. And we're into the final segment of the show. I just want to remind you, if you like the show, tell your friends and family. I'm hoping that we can get the message out and basically give you information that will help you take the right decision when, as the elections come up. First of all, the primaries and then the general election. If you don't like the show, then tell your enemies, because they are probably people who would want to hear this kind of information. But we need to get the message out. We need to make sure, and it isn't just getting people to vote one way. Let's get the voters out there. The more people that vote, the more people are going to vote sensibly. And there are a lot of kooks out there who will just vote for a Bernie Sanders, will still vote for a Hillary Clinton, even though she's as untrustworthy as whatever. But if we get more people out, there's going to be a lot of sensible people, and I know they're out there, and they will vote the right way. So, email problems. Hillary's email problems. Well, now a video has surfaced on Fox News that shows a State Department official openly admitting that Hillary Clinton and other State Department officials used their BlackBerries to send and receive information that would never be on an unclassified system. Now, the others may be using State Department BlackBerries, and at the time, BlackBerry had a kind of server that was protected, but Hillary did not. She was using her own server. So, and this is a video where Wendy Sherman, who served as Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs, discussed how diplomats were using their BlackBerries during negotiations with foreign officials. And again, I'll say, so those in that group that were using an official State Department BlackBerry, you can argue that was probably relatively safe. Well, relatively. Perhaps not the best thing to do on a BlackBerry, but even so. However, Hillary was not using a BlackBerry. She was using one on a personal email account. And so now all these stories of more than top secret things that were on there. The fact that she instructed Jake Sullivan to basically take a classified document, strip off the headers and email it to her that way without the classified. You see, you've got to remember, the Clintons are very good at parsing words and just saying things that they can't get caught. Remember Slick Willie talking about it depends what what you mean the definition of is. I think that was the famous quote. So the same with her. She's always saying, I never had anything on my personal server that was marked classified. And she always stresses that was marked classified. A lot of that information isn't marked classified, but you are supposed to know. That is the law. That is the law that I hope they hammer her on and get her and indict her on, and at least make her so ineligible for the presidential role, for the White House, right? She may not actually end up in prison, but I hope she gets indicted and cops a plea bargain and drops out of the race, because that's all she deserves. But notice how she says, I never had anything on there that was marked classified. But the law says it doesn't matter whether it's marked classified. You are supposed to know what is and isn't classified. And very obviously there are, the Inspector General has said There are things on there which are very obviously classified, maybe even marked classified, and she should have known they should not have been on there because that server was very badly protected, and there's a 90% chance, as one of the generals said, 90% chance that that either Russia, Tehran, or China had got onto that server and read what was on there. And the only reason that she did it was to be free of possible FOIA requests. And how do we know that? Well, because in another thing, right, it is known that a top State Department official suggested to Clinton's top two aides, Cheryl Mills and Huma Abedin, that Clinton begin using a government-issued BlackBerry because her personal device was malfunctioning. Oh yeah, what does that mean? In other words, it was being hacked. The official, Stephen Mull, said that the BlackBerry would mask Clinton's identity, but that the emails created on it would be responsive to Freedom of Information Act request, which is a legal requirement. But Abedin, and by the way, Abedin is now vice chair of Clinton's presidential campaign, rejected the idea, telling Mull that it doesn't make much sense. No, the only reason she wanted that private server was in order to be able to skirt around Freedom of Information request. So again, folks, can we trust the witch? No, we cannot. And basically, she does not deserve to be in the White House. She shouldn't even get the nomination. She is not trustworthy. She is a liar. So anybody who votes for her, I think it was Andrea Tantora's a Fox News channel, basically said anybody who votes for her is themselves a criminal because they are basically supporting a criminal. But then again, stranger things have happened. I saw during the week that there's some councilman, I think it's councilman, maybe it's a state level person who's got who was getting sworn in prison because he's currently under indictment for murder or something like that. As soon as you get indicted for murder, well, you know, I'll agree. You're innocent until proven guilty. But he's been arrested, so I guess he's still innocent, so they have to swear him in. But it seems stupid. You know, as soon as you get indicted, as soon as they got enough things, kick him out. Same with Hillary, but I'm sure she'll use the innocent till proven guilty and drag stuff out. It's the same thing. They had some emails, and then they said, oh, because of the snow, we're going to miss it, so we can't reach the deadline. So the snow was over a weekend, but it means they're actually going to deliver the emails a month later. A month later, after the Iowa and caucuses and after the New Hampshire election. Coincidental? Political? I mean, it's just absolutely unbelievable. Anyway, folks, I see that we are getting to the end of the show. Haven't handled half of what I'd like to do. A whole pile of interesting things on gun control, but they will wait till next week. I think these Hillary things are more important because any of you listening in Iowa that are going to caucus on the Democrat side, do me a favor. Please vote for Bernie Sanders or even Malloy, but, you know, ABC. Anyone but Clinton. Remember that. ABC. Okay, folks, it's almost time to close. I think the music will be starting soon. So one final reminder, do tell your friends. I would love to hear from you as well. Send me an email. And folks, TTFN, I will hope to see you next week.
Thank you for listening to this edition of the Patriot Come Lately Show. Please take what you have learned and share it with friends and family. Better still, tell them about the show so they can listen too. Remember to support the advertisers on the show. It helps keep this show on the air, and I thank you for that. I'm looking forward to joining you on the next show. Until then, keep spreading our message. Goodbye, and God bless America.